Well, what's the only thing we human beings are having total power over? It's not the other people. It's not our wife or the husband, and for sure it's not our kids. What is it? It's our mind. Everybody in the world is a CMO, and I don't mean Chief Marketing Officer, I mean Chief Mind Officer. Because whatever you do in your life, it's 10% what you do, and 90% about your mental toughness. As retired Microsoft chairman for Europe, these days I coach some top managers, couple of Olympic Games winners, some artists, but also beauty queens. One of those ladies, she was in the TV, and she said, Jan is a very smart guy. We like to work with him a lot. My wife was watching the TV, and she said, that's what I thought 30 years ago, and I was fucking wrong. Which means that, you know, mental toughness counts also in the marriage, okay? I'll talk to you guys about 5 learnings I made from Buddha, which can help you in creativity and achieving top goals. Number 1 is controlling your mind. Only if you control your mind, then you can be in the present moment. That's number 2. If you are in the present moment, you see that everything around you is changing. And if you see that everything is changing, why to be attached to anything? That's number 4, not be attached. And number 5, if you are not attached to anything, then and only then, you can understand who you are and you can understand other people. I was recently promoting my book at Harvard and MIT, and I asked the question, did you ever learn about self-awareness? And about 2% of those people raised their hands. So it's hugely underestimated, but let's go step by step. Number 1, controlling the mind. I talk very often about Premier League thinking. I believe if you think you belong to the Premier League, and Premier League means for everybody something different. You play in the Premier League. If you think, sometimes you may go to the second league, but your Premier League thinking will elevate you back. If you think you belong to division, you will end up in the regional competition. It is all about your mindset. When I started to play tennis, I was 12 years old. I went to the club, and I was a big guy. The chairman said, you are too fat. You go and do sumo. You are not tennis player at all. And I could do 2 things, cry, and my mother would probably take care of me, or, you know, eat less. And I started, you know, to run every day like 10K. Since that time, I'm running 10K. And I play, you know, even over the nights, and I play, you know, I was getting up in the morning, 4 o'clock, Saturday, Sunday. And at that time, when I entered the club, his son was number 1 in the club, in the junior category. In 1 year, there was somebody else number 1 in that club, and that guy is in the stage here, okay? So it is, in your life, it's about not taking no as a final answer. What Bill was always telling me, Bill Gates, you know, every no is a beginning of the yes. If you control your mind, that's number 1, then and only then you can be in the present moment. And in the present moment, whether you are artists, sportsmen, businessmen, politicians, the best things are happening. Because thinking about, you know, human performance in all categories, we are best when we are in so-called flow. Flow are the moments when it's very challenging task for you, but you are using at your best your talents, your skills. Those are like flow moments, okay? You are absolutely at your best. You are like losing your mind. Negative emotions cannot get after you. I have, you know, the violin player, a very good friend of mine, and he's saying, when I'm playing, very tough part, I'm absolutely in it. I'm losing, like, sense of the time. Another friend of mine, who is a cardiochirurgist, he's saying, like, if I do the surgery, after 3 hours, if the box would fall down with the instruments, I'm not hearing it because I'm in it, okay? So if you are in that moment, in the flow, you know, then and only then you can get the best performance because your brain is in alpha level, which means that your, you know, subconsciousness is open. And a lot of sport players like Ronaldo or Jaromir Jagr in NHL, that's the ice hockey player, they are playing almost all the time in alpha level, or Federer in tennis. I'll give you one example. Jana Novotná, She was a Czech tennis player. In '93, she was playing excellent final in Wimbledon against Steffi Graf. She won first set, she won second set. She was winning second set 4-1 and 40-15, and she lost the game. And I'll tell you why. Because she looked at the score, and she was scared to that, like, I'm probably winning the Wimbledon. And she was not able to return into the present moment. Each and every top performer is winning one present moment after the other, one ball after the other. If she would play like 5 balls in a row, she would be Wimbledon winner. But unfortunately, she was not able to return back into the present moment, into the flow. To be fair to Jana, she won in '98 Wimbledon, because in her subconsciousness, obviously, there was already this program, I need to do it. My friend who endorsed the book, Jim Galloway, who wrote the book Inner Game of Tennis. And Jim is basically saying that, you know, our internal dialogue we are having with ourselves is very important, because you can play, you know, and your forehand is not going very well. You can say, I'm hopeless, I will not, never ever I will learn tennis. Or you can say, I need to play it differently. The first thing is like, that's your future. The other thing is you criticizing yourself only for the event. So the choice is yours, because we are able to pick up, you know, our filter of the reality is very narrow. In each and every moment, there's 11 million bits per second information, and our brain is able to process only 40 billions per second. And as I said, the best performance is in the present moment. So we talk about the second one. If we are in the present moment, then we can see that everything around in the world is changing, okay? Especially now. If you think about technology, there's a Moore law. Gordon Moore was one of the founders in Intel, and he said that every second year there will be double density of transistors. He said every 18 to 24 months, to be precise, double density of transistors on chip, which means like doubling computer capacity. Your brain, guys, in 1 week needs to process today the same amount of information as the brains of our predecessors 100 years ago in the whole life. So there is a huge time compression, and there is a lot of, you know, attention deficit, because we are distracted by all of those devices. But we need to see that, you know, changes are happening around us, and what are those changes? Whether you are like playing tennis at the court, you are, you know, manager, or you are artist. Bill was always saying, Bill Gates, who influenced me a lot, bad news needs to travel fast. What he meant, that we should not have like pink glasses, that we should, you know, take the feedback from other people, from our competitors, from partners, whatever, very seriously. Because people who are surrounded by the people who are saying, yes, Mr. President, yes, Mr. Prime Minister, yes, coach, you know, there is nothing new in it. And usually the whole mechanism afterwards is collapsing if you are not able to take, you know, critical feedback. So if you see that everything is changing around you, and we go to point number 4, then you can be non-attached. And I have some saying, give up to win. And I don't mean to like giving up the whole match, or whole life, or whatever, but I'm saying that we should give up to be in the future, or to be in the past, obviously. Because, you know, the best performance, as we said, is in the present. And if you are not attached to that, you know, then you can be in that moment. I'll give you one example. I work with the Olympic Games winner from pentathlon, David Svoboda. David won in London. And he was that close to win already in Beijing. But what happened, the horse was throwing him away. And when I coached David, I said, David, why, you know, did it happen? And he said, Jan, I was so much attached to like, hey, I'm winning, you know, golden medal. He was totally in the future, and he was not in that, you know, present moment, like concentrating. I said, what was the learning from Beijing? And he said that I cannot control, you know, everything. I said, what you can control? And then he said, I can control only my mind. And that's exactly what he did in London when he won, because he told me that since that time he was going to the stadium, there was like 40,000 people, and he was getting the golden medal. There was like 7 minutes. He did not remember anything, because he was all the time in the present moment. He was not attached to the past or to the future. So that's the non-attachment, number 4. And number 5, only if you are non-attached to anything, then you can understand who you are as a human being. The problem today is following. When the child is born, our brain is having around 100 billion brain cells, okay? And they are getting connected through so-called synapses. And those synapses are connected based on the talents we are inheriting from the father and the mother's side. And that's why the kids are very creative, because they play with some toys and they are throwing away the other toys. According to NASA research, if the kids are if they are 6 years old, 98% of the kids are showing high creativity. When they are 10 years old, it's only 30%. When they are 15 years old, it's only 15%. And when they are 25 years old, it's only staggering 2%. I did recently some interview for New York Times, and I said there are two institutions which did not change last 300 years. It's cemetery and school, and I really mean it. Because school is not unlocking potential, but it's rather looking human potential into the cage. If you do it differently, okay, if you find what are the strengths and the talents of the kids, okay, and then you work on that, and I'm not saying that the kids should not learn the other subjects, I'm rather saying that they should, spend more time on the things where they can, succeed. And according to Gallup, when the kids are getting 1 or A in US, family tends to spend 7% of the time with the best subject, 70% of the time with the worst subject. The whole world is obsessed by the weaknesses. If we go to the workplaces, it's even worse. Only 13% of the people said that they are using their strengths. So the whole world is running on less than 1/5 of the capacity, because people are coming there just for the salary. And it can be done totally differently. When I was running Central and Eastern Europe, our system was the same like a school. We would pick up, like weaknesses, and we would say, this is your development plan, go and be the champion. And we totally change it, and we base it on the tool from Gallup called StrengthsFinder. And basically, we were saying, be more of who you are. We took the best from the people. And the team who was before, like the average or below the average, was suddenly 4 times in a row best performing team in the world. My boy dream was to be Wimbledon champion. I never did it, but I did in the world of the business, okay? And how we did it? In my view, if you try to find who you are, to be like authentic you, it's 3 circles. You need to figure out what are your talents, what are your strengths, number 1. Then you need to figure out, number 2, what are your passions, what are the talents which are putting you into the flow, and number 3, what are your personal values, and where it overlaps, that's your meaning. Because if you find a meaning in your life, then you are not only motivated, you like those medals and the titles, whatever, but you are inspired, which means that you're getting emotional connection to what you do. What I'm saying, it's about the self-awareness. If you find something you love and you tell other people you love it, and the other people will love it the same way, but the other people will start to believe in what you believe, then you will be successful, but also happy, right? And what I would like to finish with, guys, is following. I think we are all born as originals. And those small kids, they really understand who they are, if they are kids. But then everybody else around you is saying, you should behave as a copy. They are giving you some programs. Don't take it, Be more of who you are. Because the world is full of the copies, but only originals are changing the history. Thanks.